And hello to you. Representative Eric Redmond, District 2B up here in North Idaho. I appreciate your viewing YouTube, either you're on Facebook maybe, or on my website at www.redmond4FOR Idaho.us. Let me give you some of the important area that I thought was at the end of the session. What bills on the House were the most important to me? As you may all know, House and Senate legislators are the presenters on the floor of all 550 bills that were passed. Actually, it was less than 357, I believe, bills that are actually made into law, but there was over 550 bills that passed the House. This year I presented a bill by the Bankers Association, one by the Dental Board, and one by the Hospital Association, brought by Kootenai Health Hospital. None of these were quite as significant as one I presented on the House floor last year for the University of Idaho. Because of my experience over 25 years in insurance, and especially in healthcare funding, I presented a bill for the U of I that reduced the guarantee deposit from $90 million to a realistic $25 million required for the aggregate stop loss for reinsurance on their self-insured health insurance plan, a savings of $70 million. Of course, because of my 25 years in insurance is why they asked me to present that on the House floor, and fortunately it did pass. Like most of our North Idaho legislators, I was a co-sponsor of Senate Bill 1404, making it illegal to harvest tissue from aborted preborn babies, another bill for allowing the pre-abortion mother to have an ultrasound in hopes that it would convince the mother that maybe that's not the correct way to go. I am certainly pro-life, of course. And also voted for the Second Amendment permitless carry bill that we passed. The two bills that I personally sponsored that I received a bill number, in other words, it got introduced, of the four I drafted are the two I want to talk about. House Bill 568, American Idaho Laws for Idaho Courts. I learned of this bill when I attended a constitutional scholar, David Barton, his legislator wall builders conference in Dallas, Texas. Similar bills have passed in 10 states. The first draft for me was done by a senior analyst in legislative services. After I received a 24-page review of the draft in our Idaho law by a constitutional attorney, the name of Stephen Gilly, affiliated with the Center for Security Policy, we made the appropriate changes. House Bill 568 Statement of Purpose reads, "This is a new Chapter 5, Title 73 Idaho Code. This chapter was created to add to public policy of the state of Idaho for protection of our citizens from the application of foreign laws when the application of foreign law will result in the violation of a fundamental right guaranteed by the Constitution of the United States or the Constitution of the state of Idaho, including, but not limited to, due process, freedom of religion, speech, press, and the right of privacy or marriage embodied in the Constitution of the state of Idaho." You know, I thought this bill would be like apple pie and baseball to America or potatoes to Idaho. One of those foreign law intrusions is Sharia law. This is the national law of Saudi Arabia and 57 other nations. The first sentence of laws of each of these countries is, "No law will be accepted that contradicts Sharia law." The United Kingdom has already been made to accept Sharia law in several areas of their jurisprudence. In the U.S., as of 2014, I have documented proof of 142 Sharia law court cases in 32 different court jurisdictions, and the court upheld Sharia law in 27 of those cases. Statistically, 1 out of 5 American judges failed to reject foreign law that violated U.S. and the appropriate state public policy. Although Idaho was not one of those rejections, do we wait for after the fire to install the smoke detector and the fire extinguisher? Before my bill did get introduced in the Ways and Means Committee, I made up of the majority and minority history. It was introduced there. Excuse me. It was then sent to the amending order after a minor technical correction after my presentation in the State Affairs Committee. House leadership told me, although it was very likely to pass the House, a powerful senator in leadership on the other side of the Capitol floor was going to hold it in committee on the Senate side. They recommended I hold it until next year, 2017, and I hope to be reelected, so I'm going to bring this bill back, and I hope our Idaho citizens will pressure that Senate leadership to protect our Idaho laws. Now again, this does not affect the freedom of religion that the Muslims have in our country. If you want, Islam, want to worship the God of Muhammad, then you have the freedom to do that. But if it has to do with anything that comes before the courts, then Sharia law does not overpower our own laws. House Bill 573, Idaho Safe Family, began at Legislators' Conference I attended in Florida, sponsored by the Foundation for Government Accountability. This program, already in 29 states, is a community-driven, safe alternative to foster care custody that greatly reduces the number of kids entering the child welfare system. A safe, temporary home for a child while a parent in crisis gets help and support preventing abuse and neglect without the threat of losing custody of the Idaho Child Protection Department. An extended volunteer family called the Host Family offers help, advice, and support to parents who never had a social network to rely on. Volunteer families are extensively screened and trained by the lead nonprofit organization, never paid or asked for money. Biological parents maintain full custody of their children and are reunited as quickly as possible. This bill passed the House but was held in the Senate June Rules Committee. The chairwoman told me it was a good bill, but there was a new interim committee for foster care, and she thought it should be included there. I had already personally reviewed this bill with Deputy Director Russ Behrens and Gary Moore of Health and Welfare Family Services, along with their in-house attorney. After I agreed to adding a short definition sentence about host families, they told me they would not have any opposition to the bill. However, of course, they could not recommend it, so the public didn't think it came from the Health and Welfare Department. Well, now for the good news. Although it's similar to the Safe Family, it's called Love Inc. It's really active in Nampa, Idaho. It's Love in the Name of Christ, and it's an area that we're going to continue on. I'm on the board of Reach America, which operates a homeschool co-op and owns the Sower Bible book and gift store at 1234 Apple Way in Coeur d'Alene. Gary Brown, the president of Reach America, does life coaching for the adults in Tim Remington's Good Samaritan Rehab nonprofit. Ron Wieselmeyer, a former state legislator and former NIC trustee, PhD, also a board member, has an office in the Bible bookstore and has been doing Christian family counseling for nearly 40 years. We've received a large startup donation, and Reach America is going forward with Love Inc. and the same type of help that Safe Families was capable of doing. Not to wait on any interim committee. We hope we can get the many churches and families in North Idaho to respond to these parents in crisis and their children. And with Love Inc., it's also, since it's life coaching, it can provide some mental and compassionate help, a hand up, not just a hand out, for that gap, that adult policy, 100% below poverty, outside of their need for medical care. Thank you, and I ask for your vote on May 17th.